here's Brody Brazil.
Pretty big meeting coming up on Thursday in Las Vegas, including the Stadium Authority, as well as the Convention and Visitors Authority. They might get to taking a vote, which could move forward this potential A's ballpark on the Strip at the site of the former Tropicana Hotel. And because of this meeting, there have now been some documents published in advance. We now know some new information, including most notably the estimated cost of this stadium project. No longer is it a $1.5 billion project. It's now been upped to $1.75 billion. And we do have some commitments from A's ownership, John Fisher and his family, how much they will invest and what the overall plan of paying for this ballpark is set to be. Let me first get to the headlines here, because I do realize there's a lot of different things going on. Number one, and most notably, the cost, up to $1.75 billion, which a lot of people still think is on the low end. And that's before inflation really kicks in. If potential tariffs really kick in on construction materials in 2025. So at least it's up to a more reasonable amount, but a lot of people still don't think it's the final total cost. Inflation and additional amenities are the A's reasonings, as per the Las Vegas Review-Journal, of why the cost estimate has gone up from $1.5 billion, which pretty much has been the number for at least a year, probably more like 18 months now. John Fisher and his family say they will commit, quote, up to $1.1 billion. But when you do the math, they're also responsible for all of the potential cost overruns here. So what happens if it is a $1.9 billion stadium project or a $2.2 billion stadium project, like a lot of people think? We'll get to that later on in the video with some takeaways. This project is set to receive a $300 million loan from Goldman Sachs and U.S. Bank. U.S. Bank has a letter here kind of confirming what they've done, the research and analysis they've done of the Fisher family financials. But this project also includes no loan from Major League Baseball, as well as no additional investors from Las Vegas. Now, two parts on that. The Tampa Bay Rays had said as part of their new stadium project that they were bound to receive a $100 million loan from Major League Baseball. In reverse, in retrospect here, Major League Baseball also waived a potential relocation fee for the A's, so maybe that was the gift, the help, the favor to the team, was to waive that instead of offering up any type of loan. But Major League Baseball, as of this point, is not involved in any of the financials. And as we've known for quite some time, the A's have put themselves out there as wanting to sell a portion of the team, not a majority stake, because there is a flip tax. We'll also talk about that later. The A's wanted to get some liquid assets out of the team, maybe sell a certain percentage of the team, take that money, turn it around, put it into this project. But as of right now, none of that is actually scheduled to happen. Here's the budget. Here's the $1.75 billion budget and how it all adds up. You see 145, 180, and 25. That's all public money coming from Clark County, as well as the state of Nevada. State of Nevada with the transferable tax credits, and then the county bonds and county credit. To get up to about $350, $385 is the public subsidy on this. $300 million right there is the loan from the bank, Goldman Sachs and U.S. Bank. And then the equity commitment is $1.1 billion, up to $1.1 billion from John Fisher and some of his relatives. Here's a letter from U.S. Bank, which basically is like an endorsement to the financials of John Fisher and his family. Now, it's interesting because this letter does say that they've done their homework. They've gone through all the proper channels. They've looked everywhere possible, but it also doesn't exactly assure that all of this money is going to be there or the project is going to go how everybody is predicting it. Let me just read straight from the letter here from U.S. Bank to the Stadium Authority. In conjunction with our due diligence for the stadium construction credit facility, U.S. Bank has reviewed a portion of the financial holdings of the Fisher family, i.e. the principal owner of Athletics Holdings LLC, and related entities as of June 30th, 2024. Our review included brokerage statements, SEC filings, independent third-party appraisals, and for certain related entities, GAAP audited financial statements. Based on this review, we conclude that the Fisher family and their related entities have financial assets, excluding their interest in the Athletics Major League Baseball franchise, more than sufficient to fund the equity portion of the proposed capital structure for the Athletics Las Vegas Stadium. That's established. Here's where it gets a little bit more interesting. It is important to note that our review was based on documents and other written information provided to us by the Fisher family for assets held as of June 2024, and thus is limited to the point in time of June 30th, 2024. Our review of the financial holdings of the Fisher family is strictly our own determination for our own purposes and use, and is not an assurance or guarantee of their performance. So basically it's to say, it's there, they've got it, they can do this, but we're taking ourselves out of this equation. This is just for us, and if you rely on this, it's on you to rely on it. You can't hold us accountable as part of all that. Why is there not an escrow account for a project of this scale, size, and magnitude? I mean, if it really is going to be a private contribution of $1.1 billion, let's see $400 million in that account in the bank right now. That makes a statement that they're ready to move forward, that they will have the rest of it because they're putting this much money down. It's kind of like how a house is purchased, but maybe not. Maybe this is even easier. Here is the letter from A's owner, John Fisher, which is a lot of different things here, 3 different paragraphs. The first is basically clarifying what the letter is for. The final paragraph is to say thank you to everybody. But the middle paragraph is the part that I will focus in on here. From John Fisher, he says, quote, members of my family and I are committing to contribute up to $1.1 billion, that's a lot of zeros, to Stadeco in support of the construction of a new Major League Baseball ballpark, the Athletics Las Vegas Stadium, at the site of the old Tropicana Las Vegas Hotel and Casino, the Tropicana site, subject to certain customary conditions, which principally consist of the conditions of U.S. Bank National Association and Goldman Sachs Bank USA, the lenders, in connection with their commitment to lend up to $300 million to Stadeco in support of the Athletics Las Vegas Stadium, which are outlined in the letter provided by Stadeco to the authority, dated as of October 11th, 2024. That's one paragraph, and how many periods are there? There needed to be a few more sentences there, but basically read the first line. Members of my family and I are committing to contribute up to $1.1 billion in support of the construction of a new Major League Baseball ballpark. Question is, what if it turns out to be 1.4 that's necessary? Remember, Clark County in the state of Nevada, they have capped it off at $380 million. That's the public subsidy for this. It's not going to grow. It's not going to change. It's not going to get any bigger. That's what's been approved by SB 1 from summer of 2023. So let's get to my takeaways here. And I mentioned this before in short, but I'll get to it a little bit more in detail here. Is it harder to get a home mortgage than it is to fund a professional sports stadium? You think about what a bank needs from you in showing pay stubs and prior insurance and salary history and knowing all your bank accounts and assets and financials. And I get it. That's what U.S. Bank has done here. But U.S. Bank is not necessarily showing anybody the math. They're saying, trust us, they'll take care of this, or trust us, they have the ability to take care of this. But there's no actual proof for anybody else to see it, and there's no promise that they actually will take care of the funding if, in fact, it exceeds some certain value or threshold. And again, up to $1.1 billion, but maybe it shouldn't have been stated that way in a sense that what if the private contribution needs to be $1.5 billion all by itself? That's very possible in this scenario. And again, with even more inflation, with unexpected costs, what if there really are United States tariffs in the year 2025 and beyond? What if construction materials go up 25% across the board? The whole project cost goes up a very significant amount. So the A's know they're responsible for those overruns. I guess maybe what it could have been stated as is we'll start at $1.1 billion, but we acknowledge we have to pay for the entire project in terms of overruns. And again, why no escrow account? Everybody's wondering, how will this be funded? Where will the money come from? Is the money there? Well, the bank says the money is there or that there is enough money there, but why not put it in this neutral territory, in an account that everybody can see, everybody understands, okay, they mean business because they have started to fund this account. Now, they can take it right back if there's a problem or something changes, but at least they've put it there. They've set it aside for everybody to see. And again, the real cost of this ballpark, a lot of people already thought that $1.5 billion was way too short. It was way too small of an estimate and amount. A lot of people already thought that the actual cost would be closer to $2 billion, and that was before we realized there would be a new White House in the United States and potential tariffs of a certain amount, a very significant amount that were hinted. So the cost of everything might dramatically go up, including new construction, including the building of a baseball stadium. The LVCVA, the Convention and Visitors Authority, as well as the Stadium Authority, when this meeting happens on Thursday, I have no reservations that what you just saw there, the letters you just saw, that's enough for them to sign off on this. It probably shouldn't be, but it's going to be enough for them because, well, that's kind of the way everything has gone so far in this process. Nobody needs actual finite details. They just need somebody's word and a handshake and a wink and a nod. Also, a couple more questions I still have here. The site, the entire 35 acres, the ballpark takes up 9. The remaining 26 acres are up to Bally's to put infrastructure on, to invest, to develop the rest of the site. But Bally's, their involvement on the rest of this property, still a huge question mark. And what if the A's have to incur some of the cost of infrastructure and things that Bally's is not going to build out? You can't take the postage stamp of 9 acres, surround it with a dirt lot, and think that that's going to work in Las Vegas in 2028. It's simply not. So who's going to absorb those other costs if Bally's is not a willing partner in all of this? And also the A's financials. And again, none of us have access to the books, but you have to understand they're going into a minor league ballpark in Sacramento, seats 10,000 for the next 3+ years. They're simply not going to make as much money as other Major League Baseball teams can, and as much as the Sacramento A's should. So they're not going to make as much. They're also going to have to increase their payroll significantly. They recently said it might be up to $100 million this next year for the first time ever. They've never had a team payroll of $100 million, paying for more players, earning less money income, and also paying for this ballpark all at the same time. It just doesn't sound optimal. And does all of this, like if the letters are good enough and there's a vote that's taken on Thursday and it's a yes vote, Steve Hill, who's both on the Convention and Visitors Authority as well as the Stadium Board, what if they vote yes? Does this mean that groundbreaking is assured in the first quarter of 2025? Because if it's not, that's a more significant indication of something is not right or trusted or not in motion. Groundbreaking is the real thing to watch. This meeting and this approval of letters and signatures, like this is inevitable, but it's not the ultimate actual moving forward of the project. And last but not least, as I mentioned before, Major League Baseball still has that flip tax in effect. A flip tax meaning that John Fisher can sell a certain portion of the A's, but not a majority portion of the baseball team. If he does, for the next 10 years, he is subject to a certain percentage of that sale and tax that has to be paid in addition. He gets money for the team, but has to be paid, the tax does, to Major League Baseball as a part of flipping this team. They're not trying to have an ownership change. Baseball isn't. So John Fisher, once this project gets going, if in fact ground is broken, there's no turning back. And it would be a terrible look for Major League Baseball as well as Las Vegas to have a half-finished baseball stadium right on the Strip if they can't move forward with it. And I guess that's the point of all of this. If, in fact, it actually does start, that's why there need to be some assurances that it can be finished. It can be completed. It can come to fruition. Because if it doesn't, there's a lot of responsible parties who have their hands on this, and it's not going to serve them well, again, if this doesn't ultimately get completed. So we know some new things. We'll be paying attention on Thursday to see how all this plays out. Again, my prediction, the vote is easy for these two boards. It's yes. They didn't even get all the evidence they needed. But again, Major League Baseball, what evidence did they need to approve relocation in November of 2023? There weren't even these renderings, even a dollar amount, even plans, or there was nothing back then that was accurate. And baseball gave it a yes vote. So why wouldn't these entities in Las Vegas, even though there's still a lot of questions? And one answer for sure, this is a much more expensive project than it started out, and that price bound to change in an upward direction. That's the end of this video. I would really appreciate a thumbs up down below since you made it here. That'll help me, this video, and this channel. And before it ends, do me one more quick favor. Make sure you're subscribing to this channel. That way I can definitely see you back here next time.